There are lots of big scary animals in the Amazon, but the truth is that the scariest creatures in the biggest jungle on Earth are actually the smallest. Scorpions, centipedes, tarantulas, and all the other creepy crawlies are scarier than any jaguar or crocodile. And one of the scariest of these creepy crawlies is the giant carnivorous centipede. This thing is not only ugly and horrifying to look at, but it's also very dangerous. The centipede is red, it has 46 yellow legs, and it is the largest in the world. They are actually more commonly known as Amazonian giant centipedes because of their ridiculous size. An adult will typically grow to be around 14 inches in length, so basically the length of your forearm. Imagine a centipede almost as long as your arm wriggling across your face as you sleep. It is terrifying. Giant centipedes are indeed carnivorous, but they don't really eat people. They aren't that big. However, they can eat mice, bugs, and even lizards, frogs, and birds. It attacks its prey with lightning-fast speed and injects them with super potent venom. Within seconds, the victim is usually dead. Then the centipede can feast. But the most impressive feat that the Amazonian giant centipede exhibits is how it captures bats. It absolutely loves eating bats, and it does this in a crazy way. It goes inside of caves, scurries up the wall into the center of the ceiling, then hangs by its back feet like Spider-Man waiting for a bat to fly by so it can snatch it out of the air and eat it. These are some apex insect predators. This freak of nature is stunning. He is the tallest current living horse. His name is Big Jake, and he's a Belgian gelding horse who has earned worldwide recognition for his extraordinary height. Without shoes, Big Jake stands an outstanding 82.75 inches tall. He earned the title of the tallest living horse on January 19, 2010. And he's still alive today, though he is currently retired. He lives at Smoky Hollow Farm in Wisconsin, where hundreds of visitors flock every year just to get a glimpse of this monstrous horse. In truth, the photos really don't do Big Jake justice. He is absolutely enormous. There is no secret trick to this horse's immense height. He was simply born to be incredible. His parents were completely average, and Big Jake was not even overly large when he was born. However, he just kept growing. According to his owners, Big Jake eats a little more than an average horse, which amounts to 1 or 2 buckets of grain and a full bale of hay every day. As well as the extra food, Big Jake gets some extra accommodation. As the world's tallest horse, he needs his own special place to live. As of 2020, Big Jake is approximately 19 years old. He now spends his time at home, relaxing around the farm with other horses. It's nice to see a wonderful and impressive horse like Big Jake enjoying his retirement years peacefully. Would you want to take care of such an insanely big animal? I bet you'd feel like royalty while riding this valiant horse. Let me know what you think in the comments below. And while you're there, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. There are loads of amazing videos coming out every week and you won't want to miss any of them. Electric eels feel like something that shouldn't actually exist on Earth. If you really break down the electric eel for a minute, it's basically a fish snake that can shoot electricity through its skin. This is not something that should occur in the animal kingdom or anywhere in nature. It literally doesn't make sense. But nonetheless, electric eels are real. However, according to National Geographic, they are not actually eels. These marine things belong to the knifefish family. They are an extremely dangerous species found only in the fresh waters of the Amazon. And as we all know, electric eels are named because of their electric charge. Electric eels are also pretty big. An adult can grow to be 8 feet long, which is much larger than almost any human, and they can weigh around 45 pounds. Inside the body of an electric eel are specialised electrical organs that together feature 6,000 miniature circuits called electrolytes. When the electric eel wants to, the electrolytes can generate a maximum electric charge of approximately 600 volts. Electric eels use their electricity to defend themselves against predators and to stun their prey, such as small fish, amphibians, and even sometimes birds. And while humans don't typically get attacked by electric eels, it can happen. The shock from an electric eel will not only cripple you if you are in the water, causing you to drown, but it might give you an immediate heart failure. Basically, you'll be paralysed and unable to swim, having a heart attack, and the electric eel might even start eating you in the middle of it all. Have you ever seen an electric eel? Have you watched it actually use its shocking power? What do you think? It seems like a power I would love to have. Let me know if you're jealous of this superpower down in the comments below. But don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. There are lots more cool videos just like this one. Persian horses are some of the biggest in the world. These shaggy horses have a very unique appearance, including chocolate brown bodies and blonde hair, and they even have some of the hairiest feet out of any horse. They are also incredibly gentle. Originally bred to be war horses, then powerful draft horses, the modern Persian horse is calm and caring, and extremely comfortable with a saddle and harness. These horses still compete on the competitive circuit, and they're often crossed with lighter horse breeds to produce a very sporty riding horse. A typical Persian horse will grow to be anywhere between 60 inches and 76 inches in height, with a weight of between 1,800 and 2,600 pounds. They have an extremely muscular build, upright ears, and are great for any type of owner. These horses can also live to be an amazing 30 years old. They originate from the Perche province of France, which is where they got their name. But other than that, there is not much known about the origins of this breed. That said, some experts do believe the earliest Percheron horses could have been a cross between a Flemish draft horse and a barb horse. Somewhere along the line, Arabian bloodlines were introduced to give these horses a boost in athleticism. Of course, the green anaconda must be on the list somewhere. It's arguably the most dangerous snake in the Amazon jungle. This is because they are the largest living snake in the world. A typical green anaconda can grow to be around 30 feet, but there have been cases of them growing to be even longer. They also weigh a ridiculous amount, somewhere around 550 pounds. The green anaconda is so heavy and so long that they actually have a hard time sliding around on the floor of the jungle. This is why they are typically found in swamps, marshes, streams and rivers. They actually spend most of their time swimming up and down rivers, breathing through their nostrils and eyes and eating anything they want. Anacondas are not venomous, but they don't need to be. They kill their prey by constricting them, squeezing the body until the prey stops breathing. Then, the anaconda doesn't even bother to chew. They just slide the person or animal they just strangled into their mouth and let it digest in their belly for a while. The good news for humans is that green anacondas mostly eat deer, crocodiles and turtles. They don't really like to eat humans. However, if you find yourself alone at the edge of a river in the Amazon, keep your eyes open for an anaconda. There is literally nothing that can stop it from squeezing the life out of you once it gets its long, slithery body around one of your limbs. These snakes are incredibly dangerous. The Clydesdale is probably one of the most well-known horses in existence. They are extremely popular and can be found widely all over the United States. But they in fact originate from Lanarkshire in Scotland, near the River Clyde. The breed really found its footing in 1715 when a Flemish stallion was brought to the area to breed with the local mares. And later, Shire blood was introduced to make them even more robust. Clydesdale horses made their way to North America in about 1842, according to Britannica. But even though these horses are widely recognised, they never became hugely popular as draft horses. They only average between 68 and 72 inches tall and weigh roughly 2,000 pounds. The horses are darker in colour and typically have pale white markings on their face and legs. People in the United States recognise Clydesdale horses because of the Budweiser Parade. These majestic steeds are always seen in the Budweiser Parade, and this is one of the reasons they are so widely recognised. They are also super easy to raise and were conscripted during World War I. Unfortunately, they grew very near to extinction after the war. But today, the Clydesdale horse is doing okay, with around 600 additional horses being registered each year in the United States alone. Red-bellied piranhas are the most infamous fish in the rivers of the Amazon. They have a very bad reputation as being terrifying predators that basically act as meat grinders inside the water, ripping apart any flesh that dares get too close. And while they are pretty scary, this isn't really true. Piranhas are not actually capable of turning a river into a blender. It just doesn't happen. And some piranhas are even vegetarians. According to Life Science, there was a species discovered in 2013 that lives strictly on eating river weeds. There are other species as well, some that eat shrimp and worms, dead fish and live fish. But of course, we are talking about the red-bellied piranha. This is considered to be the most dangerous and aggressive piranha ever. And here is how they hunt. They do it in a pack. They spread out looking for food, and when one of them finds food, it will signal to the rest of the group. That is when the piranhas swarm. But they are very polite about it. You will often see one fish swim up and take a bite, and then move aside so another piranha can come and bite. This gives the illusion of them being a dangerous swarm, but they're really just polite carnivores. A single red-bellied piranha can eat at least 2.5 grams of meat per day. That's 1/8 of its body mass. Brooklyn Supreme is often considered one of the largest horses to have ever walked the earth. He was a Belgian stallion who weighed 3,200 pounds and stood 79 inches tall with a ridiculous girth of over 10 feet. To make a single shoe for Brooklyn Supreme, it required a 30-inch bar of iron. Those are some pretty big feet. This would have been in 1928 in the state of Iowa. It's reported that Brooklyn Supreme lived for a full 20 years before passing away sadly in 1948. During his life, Brooklyn Supreme was a gentle giant. Apparently, he had a weird habit of stealing food from unsuspecting children who wanted to pet him. This is according to an old newspaper clipping talking about the horse, in which it states that Brooklyn Supreme's greatest delight is stealing ice cream cones and goodies from unsuspecting little boys and girls. And to this, his exhibitor agreed. Brooklyn Supreme had a real hankering for sweets. He must have needed something to give him all that strength. The Arapamer is one of the biggest and weirdest fish of all time. They currently live in the rivers of the Amazon and are considered some of the most dangerous monsters prowling those waters. What's really incredible about the Arapamer is that it hasn't changed in millions of years. Scientists believe it evolved to its peak stage millions of years ago and has not done a single thing since. These monsters of the river can grow on average to be 7 or 8 feet long, but the longest ever recorded was allegedly 15 feet and 440 pounds. That is a monstrous fish. But it still gets weirder. These fish actually have a modified bladder that acts as a lung. They require air to breathe. They go to the surface every 10 or 20 minutes to get a gulp of air. They have also evolved to be able to survive out of water for at least 24 hours. They are basically the ultimate fish. They also have an insatiable appetite. The Arapamer opens its mouth to create a vacuum that sucks in whatever is near. Considering how big these things are, they can suck a lot into their mouths. They usually eat fish, but they will digest anything that gets sucked into their throat vacuum, including insects, mammals, and even birds. This is not the kind of fish you want to get into a fight with. The Brazilian wandering spider is an actual nightmare. I know that some tarantulas are cute and cuddly, maybe a little poisonous, but not actually dangerous to humans. But the Brazilian wandering spider is just a nightmare. It's the deadliest spider in the world. They don't even need to build webs. They have evolved past all that. The Brazilian wandering spider instead spends its time wandering around on the jungle floor, eating whatever it feels like and killing indiscriminately. These 8-legged monsters are not secluded in Brazil either, so don't think you're safe. They also live in Peru, Ecuador, and Venezuela. The spider is nocturnal, meaning that it only comes out to feed at night. But in the daytime, they have a habit of hanging out under rocks, fallen logs, or in the dark parts of your home. And if you accidentally disturb the Brazilian wandering spider during its resting hours, it will bite immediately, aggressively, and repeatedly. They rear up on their hind legs and will attack you like their life depends on it. This might not be so bad, except that the venom from the Brazilian wandering spider contains horrifying neurotoxins. It causes swelling, incredible pain, immediate respiratory issues, and blurred vision. And if you don't get immediate medical attention, you will almost certainly die. This is almost always fatal for young children. And while there is antivenom available, what are the chances of you picking that up if you're in the middle of a jungle? Belgian horses are some of the biggest in the world. If you didn't notice, the 2 largest individual specimens recently recorded, Brooklyn Supreme and Big Jake, were both Belgian horses. These are remarkable animals that go back centuries to old Europe. The original Belgian horse was a descendant from the Flemish Great Horse, which was a medieval battle horse used in ancient Netherlands, Belgium, and Luxembourg. As you can probably imagine, these horses were big enough to charge the front lines. In 1866, the first Belgian horse was taken to the United States, where the breed was well accepted and grew to be fairly popular. This horse has a natural docile temperament, thick muscles, short legs, and a whole lot of strength. Even though they only grow to be a maximum of around 68 inches, they can weigh up to an outstanding 2,200 pounds. Unlike the traditional Flemish horse, which was black, Belgian horses can be found typically with a chestnut-type colour, light brown with minimal markings. Another powerful European horse, one which comes from around the same region as the Belgian horse, is the Dutch draft horse. These are famous for being some of the burliest and toughest horses in the world. As for their appearance, they look positively muscle-bound, like gym enthusiasts. These are powerful working horses that are great for using on the farm and for transporting heavy machinery. They were extremely popular back in the Netherlands when they used horses rather than trucks. Dutch draft horses were often seen doing agricultural work and tending to the land. However, with mechanisation and motorisation came the decline of the horse. It simply wasn't useful any longer. But luckily, there are still horse enthusiasts out there who breed and take care of these amazingly powerful beasts. Today, they are mostly used for recreation and dressage competitions. They don't grow that tall, only about 64 inches, but they do have superior strength even among their taller cousins. I wonder if this horse competes in any bodybuilding competitions. This one might not even belong on the list. The poison dart frog is not a scary creature to look at. In fact, it's absolutely adorable. This little bright frog looks like something I would want to keep in my terrarium. However, according to National Geographic, the poison dart frog might just be the #1 most deadly creature in all of the Amazon rainforest. Poison dart frogs can be a variety of vivid colours, including gold, copper, red, green and of course blue. The most poisonous species is actually the golden poison dart frog, and it's estimated that a single little frog contains enough venom to put down at least 10 adult humans. The bright colours of the poison dart frog is actually an evolutionary warning signal for potential predators. Animals understand that bright colours mean stay away. If you even touch the frog with your skin, you can get the poison on you. If you were stupid enough to put the frog in your mouth, you would probably get muscular paralysis and die very quickly. But what's really cool is that if you have a poison dart frog in captivity, it's not going to be poisonous. They actually gain their poison from eating ants, centipedes and termites, and also certain plants. And through all of these parts of their diet, they get an extremely dangerous poison that secretes out of their skin. The Shia Horse is by far the tallest and strongest of all the horse breeds on the planet. The blood from Shia horses is found in almost every large type of horse around the world. These are magnificent and beautiful beasts that can be found in many corners of the globe. They look very similar to Clydesdale horses, but they are far larger. They have enormous hooves, a small amount of feathering on their legs, and can be found in a variety of different colours. Even though they are seriously large, Shia horses are known to be calm, docile, and great for horse lovers with any level of experience. If you like the feeling of being tall on the back of a horse, the Shia horse is perfect for you. A typical Shia horse can grow up to be around 72 inches tall, though there are exceptions where they can grow taller in very rare cases. They top out at around 2,400 pounds. And like most other horses, they can live to be up to 30 years old. The first Shia horse came to the United States in around 1853, but they weren't very popular. People mostly use them for breeding to increase the size of horses that they actually like. Because of this, Shia horses became one of the most popular breeds for mating. Unfortunately, the Shia horse is now on several lists of endangered livestock breeds in the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom. It would be well worth to keep these magnificent beasts around because they are friendly, fun to ride, and are absolutely gigantic. Believe it or not, there are not a lot of large apex predators in the Amazon rainforest. This is really a place that has evolved for insects, birds, amphibians, and of course plant life. Jaguars are one of the only big cats prowling around in the jungle. And while they are exotic, beautiful, and appear to be a little bit snuggly, they are definitely a scary predator. The last thing you want is to be hunted by a jaguar while you walk through the jungle. You would never even know it was stalking you. Jaguars have the strongest bite out of any big cat relative to their size. They can chomp through a skull with their massive front teeth. They are heavier than leopards, though they do look similar. The strangest fact about jaguars is that they even sometimes partake in hallucinogenic plants for a little psychedelic adventure. But the sad story is that jaguars are one of the most endangered species in the Amazon. Deforestation and human encroachment are putting an end to these beautiful and scary creatures, especially since jaguar paws and teeth are sought after for traditional Chinese medicine and even for making ornaments. The skin trade has gone down since the 1970s, but the voodoo nonsense medical trade is still booming. The smallest horse ever. It's time to take a break from the enormous horses and turn our attention to the world's smallest horse. That's right, a switch on the list of the biggest horses to see what the other end of the spectrum looks like. And this friendly animal is almost too cute. Meet Bumble from Poland. Bumble means bubble in Polish, and the horse has been named so because of his bubble-shaped body. He is a miniature Appaloosa and is incredibly adorable. He doesn't even stand past most people's knees. The poor little horse only stands 1 foot and 10 inches from his hooves to his shoulder blades. When looking at Bomble next to an ordinary horse, it's a little comical. It's like trying to put a house cat beside a tiger. But nonetheless, Bomble is reported to have a whole lot of personality and an enormous heart. In an article by Guinness World Records, they claim that Bomble was actually born to parents who were completely normal for miniature horses. Of course, it soon became apparent that this horse was special. And even with his status as the world's smallest horse, Bomble still finds time to give back to the community. Once a month, he visits the local children's hospital to help cheer up the young patients. I don't know about you, but I would love to get a visit from this wonderful little animal. I know it would improve my mood no matter what. Let's talk about the one creature that might actually attack you on your next trip to the Amazon. Well, maybe not attacked per se, but you'll see. You are probably not going to be stalked and attacked by a jaguar. Brazilian wandering spiders are scary but unlikely to go near you. And you're probably not going to be swarmed by a group of red-bellied piranhas. What could happen is that a bullet ant falls on your head and bites you. This is definitely a thing that can and does happen. The bullet ant is huge, about the size of your thumb, and they can be found in big numbers in the jungle. Bullet ants are all over the Amazon, all the way from the rainforests of Nicaragua in Central America to as far south as Paraguay. They typically live around the bases of trees, but sometimes they fall out of branches and land on people who are just walking around minding their own business. And when the bullet ant stings you, you better be ready for some pain. These ants aren't lethal, but they do have the most painful insect sting in the world. It has been reported that being stung by a bullet ant literally feels like being shot. The name is apparently highly accurate and the pain doesn't go away. The intense burning and agonizing torture lasts for around 24 hours. It's basically like getting a free trip to extreme discomfort and pain. To put it into a little perspective, it's estimated that the bullet ant sting is around 30 times more painful than that from a honeybee. Tribes will collect these ants and weave them into gloves that will be then placed on the hands of teenagers during an initiation ceremony. There they will dance in a circle, getting stung repeatedly on purpose and chant through the pain. Good news is that this sting, while it hurts like crazy, it does not have any long-lasting effects. It won't kill you, and after 24 hours you should be okay. Hopefully. Maybe a little traumatized. In 2009, Po Horse was trying to be the tallest horse in the world, which would have knocked Big Jake totally out of the picture. According to an article by the Daily Mail, Po Horse stood 81 inches tall, but he was no match for Big Jake, who stood 82.75 inches tall. It looks like Po was beaten out by a tiny fraction, but nonetheless, it makes him the second tallest horse currently living in the world. He lives on a farm in Tupperville, Ontario. He eats about 2 bales of hay a day, 10 pounds of grain, and drinks about 75 gallons of water. I try to drink 1 gallon of water a day, but this animal has a thirst like nothing I've ever seen. Imagine trying to drink that much water, you'd probably explode. Now, if you're wondering where he got his name from, the woman who rescued him named him after her favourite writer, Edgar Allan Poe. The horse had been working at a brewery prior to being adopted, hauling crates of Budweiser. Of course, he was a famous stage horse with that kind of majestic size and strength. Fortunately, he is retired and lives a much more relaxed life now. The black cayman is one of the scariest beasts in all of the jungle. There are lots of them spread out throughout the Amazon basin in countries like Ecuador, Brazil, Colombia and Peru. Now let's talk about a bit of the confusion. Caymans look like alligators and crocodiles. You would not know the difference just by looking at them. In fact, not even I can tell the difference between an alligator and a crocodile. They all look like big mean lizards to me. But according to recent research, the cayman is actually more similar to alligators than it is to crocodiles. But still, unless you know what to look for, you would never catch the difference. Basically, the black cayman can grow to be 17 feet long, and they weigh around 1,000 pounds. Just like alligators and crocodiles, caymans are at the top of the food chain. They have no natural predators, which makes sense considering these giant reptiles are basically dinosaurs. And nothing hunts dinosaurs. Even jaguars and cougars will avoid any lake or swamp populated by black caymans. One of the only documented cases of a cayman being destroyed happened when a family of river otters took one on and managed to kill it. Never underestimate river otters. Samson was the biggest horse ever. At least, that's what Guinness World Records say. It's difficult to find any concrete information on this horse, but the consensus is that he stood 85 inches tall and weighed 3,359 pounds. He was born in the 1840s, which is probably why there is so little information about him. But nonetheless, Samson remains the largest ever documented horse. He didn't only go by Samson either. After gaining some serious recognition, he was given a new name, Mammoth. He grew up in Bedfordshire in the UK and was bred by a man named Thomas Cleaver. And in case you were wondering what type of breed Samson was, he was a Shia Horse. The biggest downside to the world's largest horse being born in the 1840s is that there are no images of him. There certainly aren't any photos, since the first camera was only invented in 1826, and you definitely won't find any drawings. But I bet if you'd been alive to see him, you would have been totally blown away by his size. This horse is taller than almost every NBA player and weighs more than most cars. Isn't it incredible? He's the undisputed king of stallions. Which of these gentle giants would you love to ride? Let me know in the comments section, and thank you for watching. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe. See you again soon for another exciting video.